Oh. Fuck, I have a headache.
Hey, Roger. What up?
Hi, what's up, babe?
Not much. Just another day at the races.
Are you intimately familiar with the Dominion lawsuit?
More or less, somewhat. Why?
Okay. Fuck, where's this link? Oh, I think I just had a civil. I don't know if this would be considered a civil procedure question. They
Sure.
asked for a summary judgment, and there were 4 different parts of it, and the court granted 3 out of 4. The 4th one that it didn't grant was a summary judgment related to the actual malice, which makes
Actual
sense
malice.
because it's probably for a court to determine, not for a judge, right? Assuming it's a contested thing, right?
Yeah.
What
So summary judgment. Go ahead,
what
sir.
how can you grant summary judgment on anything relating to defamation of a public figure or public institution without granting the actual malice? Like, what does summary judgment even grant?
Yeah. So step back for a second, and we can consider what a summary judgment motion even is.
Yeah, summary
It's a
judgment
kind of
is that everybody agrees on the facts, and if the facts are as they are, it's not in dispute with the law, so you just grant the win of the case, basically, right?
it's whether or not there's an issue of material fact
Yeah.
related to a specific thing. And it's a dispositive motion that'll like either win the case, lose the case. And it's typically after discovery. You'll have these, and so both parties have been able to exchange information. And so what the court found in this case is, hey, on these elements of the defamation claim, that is the falsity of certain statements, the fact that the statements were in fact statements of fact.
Oh, okay. So the
fact
so
that
the summary judgment just means that when they go to trial, then they don't have to argue about those 3
Right.
elements. They just
It's
have to
been
argue on the
established,
actual.
right?
Oh,
Like,
okay,
so
okay,
we
gotcha.
granted summary judgment on whether or not there are in fact statements of fact, on whether or not they were in fact published to another person, on whether or not they were in fact false. And so you can't introduce evidence and you can't argue that the statements were substantially true because I've decided as a matter of law, since there's no issue of material fact here, I can look at the record and determine whether they're true or false, and me, the judge, I've determined they're false.
Gotcha.
And so the only question now is intent. And what they're saying is, what the judge is saying is, there is a issue of material fact as to the level of intent there, and that's, I think, pretty typical. Like if I think of what you might grant summary judgment on, maybe it's difficult to think like if you just claim, for example, that you didn't have a certain level of intent, how that doesn't generate an issue of material fact.
Yeah, of course. These are obviously
know,
things that you would want
yeah,
a jury or a judge to decide after a trial,
right.
not like as a pretrial thing. Sure.
You might imagine a certain situation where it's like so obvious you've admitted it before on the record. Maybe you issue summary judgment for that. But like here, you know, even if one side is heavily weighted,
You still want it to
because
go
there's
before.
an issue. Yeah,
Yeah, of
exactly.
course, yeah.
Right. Where what they're saying is like no, like there's no issue about whether this is true or false. It is in fact false.
Yeah. Okay. Question: If you in criminal court, is there any type of like, okay, so if I run an affirmative defense, okay, I kill somebody and I say it was self-defense, are you allowed as the defendant to do this defense in stages, or do you have to like own the first thing and then move to the affirmative defense? So for instance, let's say I'm talking to my lawyer, okay, and I'm like, okay, listen,
Yeah.
they said that I killed this guy. I said I did it in self-defense, but
Yeah.
I don't even know if they can prove that I killed this guy beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
So
So
can
you're
you say,
asking
so you
if
can,
you can
so you can start with the negative and say I didn't even kill the guy, and then if they get you on
even
that,
if I
say
did, it was justified.
even if I did, it was justified. Okay, because I thought I read for the in the Apple River stabbing case, I thought I read that. Oh no, I think it was just for when you go to prove the affirmative defense, that is only like a 51% thing. Is that true? Do you understand what I'm
It
saying?
depends on the state.
Sure. Okay.
So
Sure. Of course. Yeah.
different states have different things for like different affirmative defenses. In some places, you can, if you have like um, sufficient showing that there's a plausible case for self-defense, now the burden is on the prosecution to disprove it.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
there are different standards. In affirmative defenses in civil context, usually the burden of proof is on the person bringing it, but that's not always the case for criminal for reasons, and it varies. But yes, you can argue like arguments in the alternative. One problem with that is oftentimes the conventional wisdom is juries don't like to hear like those kinds of alternative arguments sometimes, because at least as it relates to factual circumstances, because they want to hear like one coherent
Yeah, it makes you sound fucking
kind of
weaselly,
story,
probably.
right?
Yeah.
You can offer arguments in the alternative legally to the jury, and even factually you can. But sometimes the practice tip is be careful doing it with the jury, because usually they think that it's like weaselly if you don't
Sure.
pick a factual kind of story.
This got all blown over by everything that had happened. But did you see the climax of the Alec Baldwin trial?
Yeah, that was
Oh my
insane.
Jesus Christ.
I have thoughts about it.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about it?
Well, my thought number one is this case should never have been brought.
Sure.
That's my
Well,
first thought.
wait, why do you say that?
Because I think it was not reasonable to think that Alec Baldwin acted with any kind of criminal negligence or recklessness in this case.
You really think so? Here's my counter argument. Because I think, well, I don't even want to say I agree with you in principle. I feel like basically every time one person kills another, well, no, is that fair? I feel like there has to be a very, 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 very high threshold where we're not even going to take this to court, just because obviously killing people is probably one of the largest interests that we have as these things not having it in the public, right? But you think there are times where it's just so, like, I understand what you're saying. Like, if you look at just like a reading of the facts and it doesn't even seem like these are contested, the idea that the idea that he intentionally killed her is almost inconceivable. But in terms of like criminal recklessness,
they don't even allege that.
yeah, I'm just trying to think like, man, if that was my mom or my sister and she got killed on set and the state says they're not even going to try him for negligence.
They tried the armorer, right?
Sure, they did, yeah.
And that to me is where the culpability lies. Now, so that was my first thought, but you can disagree whether or not you think they should have brought the case.
Sure.
I think they should, and just as another example of alternative theories in the alternative, the defense had a theory in the alternative is that Baldwin didn't pull the actual trigger, but even if he did, it's okay. So that's just another example of arguing in the alternative. On the actual thing that happened, look, I think it's misconduct by the state, no doubt. And I think it's really bad what they did, because it's really not up to the state to decide what the theory is of the case.
Yeah. Just as a quick thing for people that aren't watching. So it came out at some point, I don't remember when, but it came out at some point during the trial that the state had come across evidence that I don't know if it would have been exculpatory, but it could have changed the way that the defense would have constructed their case, but the state didn't turn that evidence over. And the prosecution, I guess, was so eager to defend its practice or to defend what they'd done. That the prosecution took the stand, and it was not good. And after that same day, I think, after she'd heard, what is this called, a Brady violation? I think the judge dismissed the case with prejudice, and now it's gone. It's just completely gone. Dismissed the case, meaning that the case is completely dropped, and then with prejudice means the state can't try this same case again against Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
What was
my take on it is essentially this was a Brady violation, and this was misconduct. I mean, the other prosecutor quit. So I don't discount that this is a Brady violation. I think it absolutely is.
Yeah.
But here's where the but comes in. And I think that the decision to dismiss with prejudice was a reasonable. It's not like within the realm of unreasonableness. Okay. I think it's reasonable minds might disagree. I don't have a problem with the ruling. That said, I don't think this evidence is the make or break thing. I don't think it's the most important thing. I understand. It reaches the threshold of material, but I don't know that if this is what someone from my server, shout out Piscord, said to me, and I thought it was really good.
Okay.
Imagine this were like a crazy, insane murderer that just like killed, like you said, killed your mom or killed a family member.
Yep.
And on this basis, with this kind of, yes, it's relevant and yes, it's material, but it's really not the pivotal factor. Would you be okay with a judge in that situation dismissing with prejudice the case based on this Brady violation?
Yes.
Ooh, I'm not so sure about
Absolutely. And this is why, okay? And I'm borrowing from borrowing from so much now. Two things. When Roberts talks about how it's so important to protect the executive, that we can't have criminal practice, so important to do that because we don't ever want them to second guess themselves while they're acting as president. And then with when Clark was talking to Rosen and Donahue, and they're like, you know that it's like policy that you can't go and talk to the fucking president, right? You know that you can't do this. You're not allowed to do this. And Clark was like, well, actually, the fate of our country is at stake here. And and Rosen says this is the most important time to follow protocol then, right? I think that the idea of the state not turning over evidence, I think it's the principle of it. It doesn't matter if if the evidence was material, would have well, it matters if it was material. It doesn't matter if how the defense would have constructed their case, or if it would have made a difference or not. But you want the state to always be invested in conducting themselves with the highest standard possible, because these are criminal convictions. I don't think you ever want the state to be in a position where they're like, listen, we've got the rules and we understand what we're supposed to do, but God, this guy is so fucking horrible. And we just need this one thing. This one time, I think it's okay because we know this guy's so bad. I think that it sets things up for a really ugly precedent in the future, I think. I am sympathetic though towards the serial killer that everybody knows did it, walks away now because the state decided that they didn't want to turn over some call logs, and they didn't even think those call logs would matter. But then,
I hear that. Every Brady violation, even assuming it's material, the case should be dismissed.
What other remedy could there be? I'm curious.
You could exclude any kind of evidence that relates to it. You could maybe there's some kind of stipulation that you could make that like the report showed whatever the defense wants it to be or something. Or I don't know what you could do. Right now, as I sit here, the other kind of remedies. The problem also is when it happened. So the Brady violation happened like during trial, which is like, oof, right? Like you go into trial thinking that this is, you're going to prepare your case one way. I understand. I think it is absolutely prejudicial to the defense, 100%.
Real quick, how did it come up? Because I didn't have time to watch all of it. How did it even come up? Was it like during questioning? How did they even know? How did the defense find out? Wait, what the fuck? You have this information? How did that?
I think, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was like two pieces of evidence. One is like the third version, a supplemental report of like a firearms expert, which kind of reneged on a previous theory that was beneficial to the defense.
Okay, yeah.
So like the second report I think was like the good report for the defense, and the third one was like bad, and they got that like a week before trial or something like that, some crazy thing like that. And then the second piece of evidence I think were like
there were like 3 bullets or something that
were like handed over, and the prosecutor's like, well, yeah, I didn't think they were the same bullets because I saw a picture of like some of the bullets, but the other bullets looked.
Clinton, that they wanted from Hunter Biden, that they wanted from like
everything's a smoking gun.
It's literally like them saying and it's crazy because it goes against my I think some people just really bought in. Are you familiar with the Brain Room?
The Brain
Room. So Fox News has fact checkers behind the scenes called the Brain Room, where they fact check everything. They're really good at it, apparently. And they're fact checking everything. So behind the scenes, they're trading emails like, hey, this is bullshit. Hey, there's no evidence for this. Hey, we can't do this. And then the emails back and forth like, okay, but dude, the ratings, they're really good. We know that we shouldn't have, and they're saying it. Yeah, there's no wonder. After reading through the depo, I'm like, yeah, obviously they settled this because the actual malice is in every other email. They're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do this, but the ratings are really good, so we're gonna go ahead and push it anyway. It's like, bro, why are you emailing us on a corporate email? What the fuck?
It's actually insane. I've tried. I'm bringing this back to the immunity. Sorry, I had to put some garbage down a chute.
Oh, we thought you were pissing.
No, I would never do that. I have bringing it back to the immunity decision. Have an open invitation to any conservative lawyer to try to argue that the assassination thing is not covered by the opinion. And it is completely, every time I bring one of these lawyers on or a layman, they fall apart in like a second. I brought on this quote unquote former election expert.
Oh God, yeah, I saw on Twitter.
Did you see any of that?
No, I didn't watch the video, but I saw on Twitter, and I already knew he was a fucking retard. But I heard you cooked him.
I am going to give you, you don't have to watch it, just for your consideration. The first 20, 30 minutes of that conversation, I think if you watch that, and I actually maybe I don't want you to watch it because I think you'll become more radicalized. But bringing it back to the Fox, it's crazy that when in the assassination hypotheticals, people are like, that's so absurd, right? Like, this is so far from what it is to prosecute or investigate to kill someone, right? But like, look at what actually happened behind closed doors.
That's why I reread like 6 pages. Yeah, and I highlighted like all this. I'm like, just so you guys know, every single thing that I'm about to read, all of this is an official act, okay? That's not my opinion. It's not presumptively immune.
That's the direct holding.
Yes, that is the direct holding, the direct statement from Roberts is that this behavior, and the behavior is, bro, oh my God. Reading it is it's just hilarious. The Clark having secret meetings with Trump, this environmental dude who's like running back to fucking, to Rosen and Donahue, and he's like, and him and Clark writing that letter, and he's like, hey guys, just so you know, I wrote a letter that we're just gonna tell all these states that we have big investigations. Can you guys go ahead and sign that? And also right before you sign it, can you promote me and bring in this other dude?
And it's insane. It would be like
it's wild.
Yeah, it would be like me like writing the managing partner of my firm, be like, hey, can you sign this thing that signs us on to some crazy conspiracy theory lawsuit.
Yeah.
It would be so inappropriate to jump the chain of command.
And actually, I don't even know if that would be comparable. I think you would maybe even be in a better position depending on what you do for law. Because keep in mind, this guy he's just like the environmental lawyer fucking dude, right? That's it.
Yeah.
He's going to the attorney general and then the deputy attorney general to tell them to write about like what would or almost like criminal investigations. Like, yeah, dude, Hirschman's deposition. There's like 200 pages, but oh my God.
I read some of it and it's referenced in the Jan 6 report.
It is referenced, but if you ever have time, bro, that is some of the funniest. He's like, oh shit. It's just so fucking hilarious. He's talking. He's like, he's talking about like Clark is like in front of all of them in this meeting, and Hirschman is talking. He's like, I guess Clark saw his like opportunity to be the attorney general, and this guy's trying as hard as he can, but this guy's a fucking joke. And Hirschman's shouting, "It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, we'll call you when there's an oil spill, dude. Why do you think you could be the attorney general?" It's just fucking hilarious watching him cook the fuck out of this dude. But no, it's like it's fucking wacky. But anyway. Yeah, there's like 6 whole pages of like insane conduct, and I just thought, just remind every page, just so you know, all of this is beyond criminal review now. Like this is completely unquestionable because it is an official act when the president of the United States talks to an inferior officer and tells him to bully his bosses to write criminal emails.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. You can't even use it as evidence.
Correct.
You can't even use it as evidence of intent or knowledge, right? So just so you guys are aware. It almost certainly will be the case that the special counsel will not be able to make the argument that we've made that it's like, well, Trump had his best people on it and he was investigating the claims and AG Barr told him that this was fake. How can we bring that into the case? So how are we going to prove that Donald Trump knowingly did a falsehood, right?
Oh, and not only that, yes, yeah, because we can have that, but not only that, but if Trump is behaving in some ways that is like at least reviewable, or at least we can ask questions about it, you cannot ask questions of motivation. So let's say that, So it's like, so even on things that you are allowed to ask questions about, if you're trying to make this determination of like, well, does this count as an official act or not, or what do you get? You can't ask motivating questions about that because that would be improper. Yeah, it's unreal.
And just so people who are aware, because you hear this a lot, it's like, it's motivation, it's not intent. Motivation is different than that. Yes, I understand. Motivation is different from intent. But on page 18 or 19, I forget which it is, it says that what is official and what's unofficial is not determined by reference to particularly generally applicable statutes. What is criminal intent other than a reference to a general statute, right? Like,
sure. And then also, just to be clear, real quick, just to remind every single person who says, when you talk about official or unofficial or core or whatever the fuck, all of these are new terms that were just invented by Roberts, okay? You're not going to open a fucking law book. You're not going to go to some historical document and figure out, oh, okay, well, these are the core powers of the president. These are official. These things did not exist before a few months ago, okay?
I will just say, and just because yesterday I was scolded by someone for not giving the counter arguments in real time, and so I'll do that. I'll say, there are references in a case called Youngstown to this kind of, so they're borrowing the language from different cases. and they're sort of transplanting it in a context where it doesn't belong, in my opinion.
Why?
And
Is this
so,
another civil? I do
yeah,
remember
yeah.
Youngstown being brought up a few times, but
Youngstown is when the president, like, he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to seize some steel mills. And he just
okay.
did that. And they
Oh,
were
and
like,
they
you can't
probably
do
try to
that.
do civil movements against him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
But the thing is, there's been very little ever lawsuits against the president himself. It's almost always against like his agencies. And so we really don't know. And the court pretty much just says it. Like, we don't really know. Like, we have this Youngstown's case about seizing the steel mills, but that's about it. Like, in terms of what is a core power. And that's only in the context of an, like, trying to seek an injunction for the seizing of a steel mill.
Do they use that language of core power in Youngstown?
They cite to it, yeah. I don't know if they use
I just control F. I don't see core power. I don't see core ever used in this fucking
do
case.
they say conclusive and preclusive?
That might be where they borrow that from, conclusive and preclusive.
Yeah, maybe not core, but yeah, I agree that they're just like making shit up and trying to, I don't disagree with you, man.
My number one irritation with that, and maybe Roberts could have convinced me, maybe. My number one irritation, though, is just when he says, if the president enjoys civil immunity, then obviously he would enjoy criminal immunity because criminal penalties are worse than civil penalties. And that is, and it's like, that is true, but deal with the other half, that we have a greater interest in prosecuting crimes than we do civil disputes. But the fact that that's not addressed is probably the number one thing that bothers me. That, and for all the people, oh, bro, I think reading multiple decisions is what mind fucks me the most, because then the hypocrisy is on such full display, right? If you are so concerned with not having a patchwork of laws, or if you're so concerned with monitoring the temperature of the country, or if you're so concerned that the writings of those on the court, as as Amy said, right, if the writings of the court aren't supposed to turn the temperature of the if you're so concerned with that, why wouldn't Roberts at least write a little indicta or whatever about the Navy SEALs thing? Why not write a little, or have a concurring opinion where Gorsuch, okay, you're one of your good writers, where Gorsuch can write, like, I know that people are concerned about this. He doesn't even have to say that the president is not allowed, but he could give a little bit of guidance. Why would you not do that?
About that? Just give me a second. I'm going to leave for a second.
Yeah, go. Yeah, okay. 'Cause I annihilated him. Wow, you speak fast and nothing at the same time. It's amazing. Versus who? I speak with more substance than any other fucking retard you listen to. I promise, okay? Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. "25-minute Turkey Tom video." We'll see. Can I do an extreme discrimination study? Got too much going on. Maybe we'll see. I need to do more writing today. I need to be writing a bit more aggressively. Okay, we're not making good progress. I'm working through my emails and shit right now. What's happened recently? Do you think you might rethink your stance on the Electoral College? Probably. Hi, what's up?
Hey, okay, this is what I have to say about the not addressing the hypotheticals bit. They absolutely could have. There's an argument that, well, it wasn't before them, and so the court can't give advisory opinions.
Which is,
but if you look at note 3 of the opinion, Roberts addresses a hypothetical by
in the dissent.
Barrett.
Yes. Or, well, that's yeah. But he addresses the dissent multiple times too, and the dissent brings up the Navy SEALs thing. So why would you not address it?
Yeah. Well, the argument is, well, you can't because it's not part of the case. But what I'm saying is... Oh,
excuse me. Didn't we read a whole ass concurring opinion by Thomas that gave the dipshit in Florida carte blanche to dismiss? What the fuck do you mean? Because it's not before the court, right? What do you can write whatever the fuck you want. You're literally a Supreme Court justice.
But also, in that very opinion, the bribery example is almost a worse example for Roberts to deal with because bribery is textually enumerated in the Constitution, and it explicitly contemplates charging a president for bribery. And so he has to deal with that one. Otherwise, he'll look totally unhinged. But
And his
bribery is
way
not
of
part
getting
his case.
around it is so stupid. Where he's like,
So
well,
stupid, yeah.
the record of him doing the bribe will be part of the public record. What the? Oh my God, bro.
It's the dumbest thing of all time, yeah.
What does that even mean, actually? Part of, like, it's in a newspaper or what?
That an act was taken, I guess.
Yeah, but like, well, no, not. But it has to be part of the public record because you can't criminally probe on it. Like, so I don't even know what he.
I honestly don't even know what the hell he's talking. I mean, I guess you could look to newspaper records that there was a pardon, I guess. But you couldn't, like, say more about it, I guess. Or talk about what led up to the pardon, right?
Yeah, it's.
How you doing, though? You okay?
Yeah, just reading. I got a little bit of a headache today, but reading and writing.
Yeah. Well, man, best of luck. I encourage you. I'm going to send you this talk. I think you'll really like the first 20 minutes, and I think you'll become more extreme. And I've decided to give you at least that.
Oh no,
that
extreme on
ammunition.
what?
Against Trump supporters. It is the most, because this guy's saying, he starts the conversation by saying, with me, all elections are illegitimate in America.
Wait, which guy are you linking me? What's his name?
His name is I call him Froggy. I think his name is the Watch Frogs. I'll send you the clip. Don't worry.
Okay. I already tried to.
Yeah.
I think I made it like 10 minutes through that Eastman video, and I'm like, this is fucking retarded. I can't even.
No, this one, you're going to lose your mind. But
who is this guy in relation to Trump? Who was he?
No, he's the election expert. Remember you talked to someone, I don't know
the
his
guy.
name.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha.
No, but sorry. He's not an election expert. He's a former election expert. He makes very clear that he is not a current election expert. He was just an election expert 8 years ago when he was 22.
Which means what? That he like worked in an office that did emails that communicated with the state.
You're gonna have to see it. I'll send it to you. All right.
Okay.
All right, myself.
Did you say mashallah? I'm just kidding. Whew, 25 emails. I put the PKA thing in my title for we'll do an hour and 20 minutes. Secular talk reacting to your peers' debate. Oh man, I feel like literally no matter what he says, I'm gonna hate it. I feel like if Kalinsky agrees that my rhetoric was okay, then I'll be like, bro, your rhetoric is crazy all the time. I don't even want you to agree with me. Or if he chastises me, I'd be like, oh, you're carrying water for conservatives. I don't think Kalinsky carries water for conservatives though. He's just super anti-establishment. Anna Kasparian. My God. What's going on with the tweeting where you're like, oh, actually, it was a really good speech. Why? There's this guy. People have told me to talk to him in the past. There's this guy that I see on Twitter, okay? I'm seeing through the matrix, and I can't tell. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? He's this guy who's like, sometimes he writes things where I'm not sure. Other times he writes things like, oh, this is based. And he genuinely feels like he might be a guy that forms his own thoughts and doesn't just buy into some either Democrat, Republican, or establishment anti. Oh yeah, that Richard Hanania guy. I can't tell though. I haven't dug into him yet. Remember when Anna and Kyle seemed to be on that small liberal arc? Yeah, I don't know what happened. Hanania is a big race realist who hides his power level. I don't know what that means. I have to see stuff myself, unfortunately, because people might call me a race realist. I don't even know what that. I don't know what that means when people say that. He melted down over Sydney Sweeney's boobs. Sorry.
Yes, same. Yes, same. They ignore reality. And 35% of the time, the eighth guy will say, yeah, fuck my reality. I'm with y'all. But if you have just one person in that chain of 7 to disagree, it drops down to 5%. Suddenly this person's willing to hop on somebody else's ship because they can see that island in the sea and it's void of
and I love it.
Come on, boys. The island's safe. Okay, it's warm. Trump's got this.
Wait, what?
Different linked lines, participants.
Sorry.
So yes, same. Yes, same. They ignore reality. And 35% of the time, the eighth guy will say, yeah, fuck my reality. I'm with y'all. But if you have just one person in that chain of 7 to disagree, it drops down to 5%. Suddenly this person's willing to hop on somebody else's ship because they can see that island in the sea and it's void of
and I love it.
Come on, boys. The island's safe. Okay, it's warm. Trump's got this locked up. Go to every single swing state. Use whatever polling you want. I prefer registered voters because those are the guys who are up for it. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Georgia, Florida, Ohio. Virginia's not that far out of reach. Biden's, of course, leading Virginia by 2 or 3, but it's going to be one of those too close to call, folks. The state of Virginia, it's going to be neck and neck.
And also down ballot races are obviously super important.
More important than the presidency.
The best, we'll say just as important, but the best the Democrats can do in the Senate is 50-50. The West Virginia seat is fucking gone. And so it's down to Ohio and
the West Belt,
and
Michigan, Minnesota.
No. The only two Senate races right now that are truly competitive are Ohio and Montana. And if the Democrats can win, and Democrats, the rest of the country are well overperforming Biden, like by 8 to 12 points. It's crazy how much they're overpolling from him. But if Democrats can hold those two states, then they can keep it 50-50. But
that won't matter because Trump will be president. He'll have the VP will have the vote.
Well, that's why they want. That's why Pelosi and them want Biden to step aside, is because they're seriously worried about him dragging down ballot candidates, which is obviously real concern. He's been trending in the wrong direction since the debate.
It's why I say Joe Biden is a bigger threat to democracy than Donald Trump ever could be by this arrogant.
It's such a fucking retarded thing. Like, Joe Biden is a bigger threat to democracy because he might be the reason why Donald Trump loses, who had destroyed democracy. Why can't we just say that, like, oh, wouldn't that just make Donald Trump the biggest threat then to democracy? It's like saying, like, Ukraine would be the cause of World War III if Ukraine responds too aggressively to Russia's invasion. Maybe Russia, like, shouldn't have invaded. How much should they sell it for? Is it like publicly listed anywhere? ABC, it should be, right? Via Hendon Mob. What are you looking for exactly? I'm just curious how much 538 sold for. 250K is a big bet. Like, this guy's worth over, like, my guess would be over $20 million if he's willing to just, like, throw out a $250,000 bet, unless he's just posturing and he's hoping that he doesn't accept. They were trying to sell, but you don't know if they did. Huh.
I think it is fair to point I think it is fair to point out, though, that number one, the polls in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania are within the margin of error, and if Biden can win all three of those, he does win the presidency, assuming he stays in, which he won't. And number two, the polls have been underselling Democrats since the Dobbs decision. There was a red wave predicted in 2022. The most projections had Republicans winning anywhere between a 25 and a 35 seat majority, if I recall correctly. That didn't pan out. We've seen Democrats overperforming in special elections, not just in specific enclaves of the country, but all over the country. I don't think you should hang your hat on that and ignore the trends, but I think there is some reason to be dubious in this spot.
I want to get a count real quick. Kyle is the only one who thinks Joe is going to still be the guy.
And Kamala will probably
I think it won't be Biden.
I think, didn't he openly
run an
say,
Indian
like,
lady against a guy with an Indian wife?
I'm hoping it's Whitmore, but
those cancel out.
That's crazy.
That cancels out.
If you're Whitmer, would you say yes? I mean, I feel like if you're Whitmer, if you're Newsom.
I think, yeah, man, dude, if you have aspirations for, well, or maybe not, who knows, bro? Everything is so wacky right now. Maybe this is the best chance. Who knows? Do you think a single person on the conservative side will denounce anything Loomer said, or will they just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist? Probably ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. Even on her deathbed, this ghetto bitch couldn't keep President Trump's name out of her disgusting mouth. I'd say rest in peace, but we all know lying Democrats who have destroyed our country are going to hell. Sheila Jackson Lee will be remembered as a destructive force in America and one of the most low. Oh my God, this is the wall between East and West Germany. Maybe. You think it could be. And these are all the Nazis turning in their old helmets. Again, in the 60s. Bro, I have no idea. I bet it's like fucking Austria. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to say 1970. Good luck. 1990. Oh my God. And it actually was. I kind of had the location right in spirit. 1990? What the fuck? The wall was built in 1990? Wait, really? I had no fucking idea. The wall only existed for like 1 year? How cringe. That's like the weakest wall ever. Street store recently next to the recently fallen Berlin Wall, selling uniforms from former soldiers. No, it was built in the 50s? Wait, now I don't know who's trolling or not. Oh, fuck you. From 61 to 89. Fuck you. It did fall before the Soviet Union. Oh, that's good to know. Unbelievable. Okay. Okay, we can do this. Let's go. Let's do 2 strong ones. Oh, I love this place. We've got British tourists. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is going to be a 9,500 plus. Wait a second. It's not. Have I seen these before? I want to guess like Quebec City instead of Montreal. What the fuck? Where am I? Hello? Okay. But why do I feel like there's no way I saw these? I would remember. Stupid fucking anchors. I feel like I might have, but I don't know. Fuck it. Let's do it. Boom. 20. It's going to be like in England. 2016. 15. Let's go. 9,067. Fuck, it was Quebec City. Fuck. But still, okay. We take those. We take those. We take those. We take those. All right, let's fucking go. One more big 9,001. Our score is so bad. Oh my God. I don't think I know where the United Nations is. I don't know where the European Council is. Wait, I have no idea. Wait. No, I do know. It's Brussels, right? Isn't it? Am I making this up? This is Brussels 2020. Let's fucking go! Let's go! Let's go! Who's in that picture? No clue. Bro, I did horribly. Oh my God. Zelensky's in there? Yeah, maybe he snuck in. Unpled in the operative complaint and unsupported by evidence. In an opinion by Trump appointee Stefanos Bibas, the Third Circuit affirmed, writing that the Trump campaign's claims have no merit, that they challenged a number of ballots far smaller than the roughly 81,000 vote margin of victory, and that the Trump campaign never claimed fraud or that any votes were cast by illegal voters. Allegheny? 2 Pennsylvania state courts did order provisional relief, but not based on fraud. A split panel enjoined Allegheny County officials from counting 270 provisional ballots for which voters had signed the outer envelope in only one of 2 required places, or that were deemed otherwise defective. Another state court ordered officials to set aside provisional ballots cast on election day by voters whose absentee or mail-in ballots were also timely received. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So legal challenges. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, Trump calls states to change votes. All right. After they had lied and defrauded the Republican poll watchers and members of the press, whereby in reasonable reliance the Republican poll watchers and members of the press left the state from Arena, without public transparency, Fulton County election officials continued to process, handle, and transfer many thousands of ballots. Oh, shit. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I think at the end of each of these counts is the relief that they're requesting. So count 1, election contest. As a result, there is substantial doubt as to the outcome of the contested election, and the contested election and any certification associated therewith shall be enjoined, vacated, and nullified, and either a new presidential election be immediately ordered that complies with Georgia law, or, in the alternative, that such other just and equitable relief is obtained so as to comport with the Constitution of the state of Georgia. What other relief is comparable to doing a whole new election? What? Okay, and then at the bottom of count 2, they ask for, as a result, there's substantial doubt. Oh, it's the same thing. Do a new election. That's what they're asking for? For, as a result, there's substantial doubt. Should be, okay. Oh, and then a request for TRO and preliminary and permanent injunctive relief. What is the, what was the date of this filing? Fuck, does anybody know? Why is all this shit not like auto-dated like everywhere? Oh, respectfully submitted this 4th day of December 2020. It's about a month after the election. Jesus.
Case for that, Brett. Nobody. I mean, look, you'd have to be a child to think anything other than that. Just a child. I mean, you never Trump for U.S. attorney
how
there.
How many ballots, Mr. Secretary, are you saying that were processed in?
We had GPI thoroughly investigate that. we had this is Ryan Germany. We had our law enforcement officers talk to everyone who was there after that event came to light. The GBI was with them as well as FBI agents.
Well, there's no way they could. Then they're incompetent. They're either dishonest or incompetent. Okay, there's only two answers: dishonesty or incompetence.
That's the only.
There's no way. Look, there's no way. And on the other thing I said too, there's no way. I mean, there's no way that these things could have been. You know, you have all these different people that voted, but they don't live in Georgia anymore. What was that number, Clay? That was a pretty good number too. Yeah.
Well, the number who had registered out of state after they moved from Georgia, and so they had a date when they moved from Georgia. They registered to vote out of state, and then it's like 4,500. I don't have that right in front of me.
And then they came back in and they voted.
And voted. Yeah.
No, that was a large number, though. It was in the 20s. And, you know, the point
We've been going through each of those as well, and those numbers that we got, that Ms. Mitchell was just saying, they're not accurate. Everyone we've been through are people that lived in Georgia, moved to a different state, but then moved back to Georgia legitimately. And in many cases...
Really? How many people do that? You mean they moved out and then they said, oh, the hell with it, I'll move back in? You know, it doesn't sound like a very normal... You mean they moved out, and what, they missed it so much that they wanted to move back in? It's crazy.
Well, and they moved back in years ago. This was not like something just before the election. So there's something about that data that it's just not accurate.
Well, I don't know. I mean, all I know is that it is certified, and they moved out of Georgia, and they voted. It didn't say they moved back in, Clayton, did it?
No, but I mean, we're looking at the voter registry. Again, if you have additional records, we've been asking for that. But you haven't shared any of that with us. You just keep saying you've been.
But a lot of it you don't need to be shared. I mean, to be honest, they should share it. They should share it because you want to get to an honest election. I won this election by hundreds of thousands of votes. There's no way I lost Georgia. There's no way. We won by hundreds of thousands of votes. I'm just going by small numbers. When you add them up, they're many times the 11,000. But I won that state by hundreds of thousands of votes. Now, do you think it's possible that they actually? But I'm sure you're a good lawyer. You have a nice last name. But I'm just curious. Why do you keep fighting this thing? It just doesn't make sense. We're way over the 17,779, right? We're way over that number. And just if you took just Ruby Freeman, we're over that number by five or six times when you multiply it out times 3. And every single ballot went to Biden. And you didn't know that, but now you know it. So tell me, Brad, what are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this. And it's going to be very costly in many ways. And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers. For instance, I'm hearing...
Fucking true. Patron, I nominate you to be the new fucking conservative spintard. Biden would never fight this hard to be president. Absolutely true. That's the one positive thing you could say about Trump here. You know what my band teacher used to say? He used to say, if you aren't cheating, you aren't trying.
Ryan, and he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know. But he's making it with such, he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot. You know, so.
Mr. President, you have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination.
Cringe. Imagine caring about the fucking courts. You mean where the never-Trumper BJ Pack is? That court?
We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Well, actually, BJ Pack was a federal court guy. Did it get appealed up to the federal court? I don't remember.
Well, why do you say that, though? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? First of all, they don't even assign us.
Fuck the court. Yeah, but we're going to play with the court. Come on, man. Seriously, you trust those fucking bozos?
Well, why do you say that, though? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? First of all, they don't even assign us a judge. They don't even assign us a judge. But why wouldn't you, hey, Brad, why wouldn't you want to check out Ruby Freeman? And why wouldn't you want to say, hey, if in fact President Trump is right about that, then he wins the state of Georgia. Just that one incident alone, without going through hundreds of thousands of drop ballots. You just say you stick by. I mean, I've been watching you for. You know, you don't care about anything. Your numbers are right, but your numbers aren't right. They're really wrong.
and they're really wrong, Brad. And I know this phone call is going nowhere other than ultimately, look, ultimately I win, okay? Because you guys are so wrong, and you've treated, look, ultimately I win, okay?
That's a good soundbite. That should be a donut sound.
Because you guys are so wrong, and you've treated the population of Georgia so badly. Between you and your governor, who was down at 21, he was down 21 points, and like a schmuck, I endorsed him and he got elected. But I will tell you, he's a disaster, and he'll never. I can't imagine. The people are so angry in Georgia. I can't imagine he's ever getting elected again. I'll tell you.
Did you see what he almost said there? Actually, I changed my mind. Trump is very intentional. Did you see what he almost did? He almost did blackmail and then he stopped. Well, would you consider this blackmail or extortion or what? He almost said, I'm never going to support him again. I supported him and he fucking won, that schmuck. And I would the people are never going to vote for him. He almost did. You hear it coming here?
Points. And like a schmuck, I endorsed him and he got elected. But I will tell you, he's a disaster. And he'll never. I can't imagine. The people are so angry in Georgia. I can't.
And then he intelligently he rephrases this. He'll never. The people are going to be so mad that they're not going to vote right. That's.
I can't imagine he's ever getting elected again. I'll tell you that much right now. But why wouldn't you want to find the right answer, Brad, instead of keep saying that the numbers are right? Because those numbers are so wrong.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. President, I mean, one of the things that we have been, Alex can talk about this, we talked about it, and I don't know whether the information has been conveyed to your office, but I think what the President's saying, what we've been trying to do is to say, look, the court is not acting on our petition. They haven't even assigned a judge. But the people of Georgia and the people of America have a right to know the answers. And you have data and records that we don't have access to. And you keep telling us and making public statements that you've investigated this and, nothing to see here. But we don't know about that. All we know is what you tell us. What I don't understand is why it wouldn't be in everyone's best interest to try to get to the bottom, compare the numbers. You
have to understand. Hold on. I want you to understand, okay? Only 7,000 of you. The only ones on the internet will understand this, okay? Because we're the only ones that actually care about any of the structure. You have to understand the insanity of this request. Because on its face, it sounds like a reasonable request that they're making, but it's absolutely not. It's an insane request, okay? So even if Donald Trump, the president of the United States, okay, you have the federal government, all right? And the federal government, you've got Congress, the Supreme Court, and then you've got the president, all right? And in the president, you have this little thing called the DOJ that does investigations, all right? And then over here, you've got a separate entity, all right? You've got the state of Georgia, all right? Georgia has its court, governor, and their legislature, right? Even if the president of the United States, as the president of the United States, was demanding voter information from Georgia, Georgia would already say, fuck you. Why the fuck? You have to come at us with a crazy subpoena, and not you, Mr. President. It would have to be your DOJ, would have to file a suit in a federal court, and then the federal court can come after us for this information. Why would we ever turn that over to you? That request would already be an egregious one for the president of the United States to make. But he's not even making this request as part of a formal investigation with a subpoena or as president of the United States. He's making this request as a private citizen. The private citizen, Donald Trump, who's running for president, and his personal lawyer is asking the state of Georgia, hey, Georgia, can you just open all of your voter information for us? Not as part of discovery in a court case, not as part of a subpoena for a criminal charge, and not as part of like any other type of court order that might be granted pretrial or whatever, right? But as a private citizen, he's demanding, he's saying, I need your voter information. It's such an unfathomably, insanely it would be the equivalent of me running for office and me not winning, and then me just like calling up like the Secretary of State, I guess, right, for Ramsburg, and be like, hey, so I know that we lost the last election. I got this guy, Daniel Saltman, founder of Tiny Chat, by the way. We just want to like look at all of the voter registration information you have, because I'm pretty sure you guys somebody cheated. Okay, so can you just go ahead and email me? Can you just email me like all of your super private, super confidential voter information that you wouldn't even release to the federal government, by the way? Because why the fuck would you? Can you just go ahead and send me that information? We won't fuck with it at all or do anything bad with it, but just send us all of that personal information. Thank you. It's such an unbelievably crazy request. Do they ever directly respond? I know we listed this a long time ago. Do they ever directly respond to how inappropriate and insane that request is?
All we know is what you tell us. What I don't understand is why wouldn't it be in everyone's best interest to try to get to the bottom, compare the numbers. You know, if you say, to try to be able to get to the truth, and that because we don't have any way of confirming what you're telling us. You tell us that you've had an investigation of the State Farm Arena.
Why would it matter for you to confirm? You're not William Barr. You're not Bill Barr. This isn't the DOJ asking for confirmation, which I don't even know, by the way, if the DOJ even has any fucking standing to ask this question. Okay, why the fuck would they? You need an injured party in the state of Georgia to ask this question. Okay, so fuck you as the personal lawyer of Donald. Like, who are you to even make this request? Why would you ever think they would acquiesce to this? It's an insane request.
Confirming what you're telling us. You tell us that you've had an investigation of the State Farm Arena. I don't have any report. I've never seen a report of investigation. I don't.
Who the fuck are you? You're Trump's private lawyer. Why the fuck would you see that report? You'll see whatever they publish publicly, or you can go to a Georgia court and get a fucking order for it, do a case and do discovery and figure it out that way. But like,
that you've had an investigation of the State Farm Arena. I don't have any report. I've never seen a report of investigation. I don't know what that is. I've been very involved in this. I don't know. And that's just one of like 25 categories. And it doesn't even, and as the president said, we haven't even gotten into the Dominion issue. That's not part of our case. It's not part of, we just didn't feel as though we had any way to be able to develop.
No, we do have a way, but I don't want to get into it because
exactly.
we found a way in other states later, excuse me, but we don't need it because we're only down 11,000 votes, so we don't even need it.
Right.
I personally think they're corrupt as hell, but we don't need that because all we have to do, Clayton, is find 11,000 plus votes. So we don't need that. I'm not looking to shake up the whole world. We won Georgia easily. We won it by hundreds of thousands of votes, but if you go by basic, simple numbers, we won it easily. So we're not giving Dominion a pass on the record.
No, right, exactly.
But we just don't, we don't need Dominion because we have so many other votes that we don't need to prove it any more than we already have.
Mr. President, this is Kurt.
Was he talking about the elector scheme there? No, here he's saying that like they have a secret way to go after Dominion and hold Dominion accountable because he thinks that that's going to happen, but that they don't. It's fucking...
Hilbert, if I might back here for a moment. Ryan, I would like to suggest that just 4 categories that have already been mentioned by the president that have actually hard numbers of 24,149.
Who's this guy? This is one of his other lawyers. This is like a no-name dude. I think on the call talking right now. Alex Kaufman or Kurt Hilbert, maybe?
Votes that were counted illegally. That in and of itself is sufficient to change the results or place the outcome in doubt. We would like to just sit down with your office, and we can do it through purposes of compromise.
This part is really important as well. Why not get into Dominion if you think if they are awful? If you have such damning evidence, why not show it? Because this is part of hopefully what he hopes is going through the DOJ. But I'm thinking by January 3rd, I think Bill Barr's already shot him down and said, "Sorry, sir, but this is all bullshit." I'm pretty sure. Wait, hold on. Department of Justice, FBI, public statement, Dominion voting machine. I think this was made months earlier. No. There was a public statement that was released on, I want to say it was like the DOJ.gov website. Or justice.gov. Fuck. I thought that Barr literally... Public statement, Dominion voting machines, FBI, Bill Barr. Wait, is it this? I thought this was, I know I read this on a published, like on a .gov site. It was a letter that Bill Barr had written to the public. And I think he spoke about how they had seized or they'd gotten one Dominion voting machine, they'd analyzed it, and they said that any claims about there being weird software, any bullshit like that was just not. I'm just curious if it was before or well, whatever. It was probably this article. It's referring to, if there was something published, it was this. But this was December 1st, 2020. So Barr's already said fuck you on the whole Dominion bullshit. So actually, I don't know what Trump is referring. He's just talking shit when he's saying we've already got a way to talk about it. He doesn't. Nobody in the DOJ is willing to take up this absurdity for him.
Actually, the hard numbers of 24,149 votes that were counted illegally. That in and of itself is sufficient to change the result or place the outcome in doubt. We would like to just sit down with your office, and we can do it through purposes of compromise and settlement, just like this phone call, just to deal with that limited category of votes. And if you are able to establish that our numbers are not accurate, then fine. However, we believe that they are accurate. We've had now 3 to 4 separate experts look at these numbers. These numbers are based upon the USPS.
And certified accountants looked at them.
Correct. And this is just based on USPS data and your own Secretary of State data. So that's what we would entreat and ask you to do, to sit down with us in a compromise and settlements proceeding and actually go through the registered voter IDs and the registrations. And if you can convince us that 24,149 is inaccurate, then fine. But we tend to believe that is, obviously more than 11,779. That's sufficient to change the result entirely in and of itself. So what would you say to that, Mr. Germany?
Kurt, I'm happy to. I'll get with our lawyers and we'll set that up. That number is not accurate, and I think we can show you for all the ones we've looked at why it's not. And so if that would be helpful, I'm happy to get with our lawyers and set that up with you guys.
Well, let me ask you, Kurt. Kurt, you think that is an accurate number? That was based on the information given to you by the Secretary of State's Department, right?
That is correct. That information is the minimum, most conservative data based upon USPS data and the Secretary of State's office data that has been made publicly available. We do not have the internal numbers from the Secretary of State.
When he says made publicly available, what he means is that's the number that they read on the website. Bro.
Yet we have asked for it 6 times. I've sent a letter over to Mr. Anulowicz several times requesting this information, and it's been rebuffed every single time. So
I want to read those letters. Are those published anywhere? The letters have to just be saying, bro, fuck off. Why the fuck would we ever give that information to you? Come back when you have a fucking subpoena or a court order. Why the fuck would we ever give you that information?
It stands to reason that if the information is not forthcoming, there's something to hide. That's the problem that we have.
Wait.
Well, that's not the case.
What did he just say? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
Requesting this information, and it's been rebuffed every single time. So it stands to reason that if the information is not forthcoming, there's something to hide.
If you're not willing to turn over all of your private voter information to us, you must be hiding something? Excuse me, sir. The burden on proof. Fuck me. I was going to say, I'm so happy that the state of Georgia is the one doing the RICO case, but who knows how much of that case is going to survive the Supreme Court immunity ruling.
That's the problem that we have.
Well, that's not the case. There are things that you guys are entitled to get, and there's things that under law we are not allowed to give out.
Well, you have to. Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results, okay? You're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result. And honestly,
hold on, real quick. Wrong. It's a little different because Trump is president at this time, so he has some power. Bullshit. Trump is not acting as president here. That's why he's on this call with his personal lawyers, more or less. This isn't the Department of Justice. He doesn't have Donahue or Rosen with him. He doesn't have his attorney generals. None of this is in the capacity as the executive investigating a state. Also, fuck the investigative powers of the DOJ on the state here. They don't have standing here. What law? It's not up to the Department of Justice. The federal government does not enforce state law against a state legislature or election body. It's wholly inappropriate. They have no standing to even bring this fucking case. They want a legal challenge here. It has to come within the state of Georgia itself. The federal government, but that was even if he was acting as the head of the federal government. But he's not. This is Donald Trump as a candidate with his personal lawyers on the phone call, making a personal plea to get voter information. None of this is.
Honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow because you have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam.
More extortion, blackmail, right?
And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Okay, they hate it, and they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday. And therefore, I think that it really is important that you meet tomorrow and work out on these numbers. Because I know, Brad, that if you think we're right, I think you're going to say, and I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm just saying that, you know.
And he's giving you like your way out as well, your path to redemption too, right? Like, listen, I'm chill. I'm cool. I just need 12,000 votes. I'm cool though. Like, whatever you guys have to do, I'm chill.
I think we're right. I think you're going to say, and I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm just saying that, under new counts and under new views of the election results, we won the election. So, it's very simple. We won the election. As the governor of major states in the surrounding states said, there is no way you lost Georgia. As the Georgia politicians say, there is no way you lost Georgia. Everyone knows I won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But I'll tell you, it's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast.
Like, this is the guy that Republicans say he could sit across the table from Putin and fucking negotiate. Shut the fuck up, you fucking retard. This guy got dog walked by the fucking Georgia Secretary of State. He didn't even have any fucking idea what he could even ask for in this call. This is the guy that's going to negotiate across the table from Xi Jinping and fucking Vladimir Putin. Give me a break.
Yes.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me just. It sounds like we've got two different sides agreeing that we.
You watched the ABC Trump investigation video yet? No, this is all. I'm just doing my own reading. Thank you, though.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me just. It sounds like we've got two different sides agreeing that we can look at those areas, and I assume that we can do that within the next 24 to 48 hours to go ahead and get that reconciled, so that we can look at the two claims and making sure that we get the access to the Secretary of State's data to either validate or invalidate the claims that have been made. Is that correct?
So that's not what I said. I'm happy to sit down with, or have our lawyers sit down with Kurt and the lawyers on that side and explain to him, hey, here's based on what we've looked at so far. Here's how.
Hold on.
Correct. We get the access to 48 hours. You can look at the president. This is Mark.
It's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me.
Oh, this is Mark Kelly, the chief of staff. Okay, so kind of an official. Well, not official. He's the chief of staff. I don't know why he's on this call. It feels a little inappropriate. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know why the White House chief of staff should be on this call, but okay.
It sounds like we've got two different sides agreeing that we can look at those areas, and I assume that we can do that within the next 24 to 48 hours to go ahead and get that reconciled, so that we can look at the two claims and making sure that we get the access to the Secretary of State's data to either validate or invalidate the claims that have been made. Is that correct?
I love that. You've got two people. This is like a used car salesman, right? You've got two wholly different interpretations of events. And then this guy at the end is like, okay, so it sounds like we all agree. You're going to go ahead and turn over everything to Trump's side, and then we can just go ahead and look through it all, and we'll all like be chill. Well, we'll figure it all out, and we'll be cool. And yeah, does that sound good? Like, hello, sir. I'm sorry. Were you not here for the last 57 minutes of phone call?
So that's not what I said. I'm happy to sit down with, or have our lawyers sit down with Kurt and the lawyers on that side and explain to him, hey, here's based on what we've looked at so far. Here's how we know this is wrong. 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 And
so what you're saying, Ryan? Hold on. Let me make sure. So what you're
so okay, hold on, Ryan. Let's try this one more time, Ryan. Wait, fuck. I don't remember how this phone call ends. Is he about to threaten him? What you're saying is you don't want to try to find criminal behavior in your state, or is he about to? Or is he going to try to reframe it to say like, well, what you're saying is we just need to talk and then you'll turn it all over? Is it going to be a threat, or is it going to be another like dramatic rephrasing?
How we know this is wrong. 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 And
so what you're saying, Ryan? Hold on. Let me make sure. So what you're saying is you really don't want to give access to the data. You just want to make another case on why the lawsuit is wrong.
Oh, well, okay, kind of. That's actually okay. That's an okay thing. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It is. It's still. He's not acknowledging how ridiculous the request is, but this wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be.
I don't think we can give access to the data that's protected by law. But we can sit down with them and say.
But you're allowed to have a phony election.
Trump is so. He just like he interjects. It's like me arguing with Cake that like I want to host like 5 terabytes of movies on my fucking website. Okay, because like we don't have the bandwidth for that. And I'm like, but you can host my stream on DGG. Cake's like, well, it's not actually us hosting the data. It's right there on the webpage. I can see it. I've had many people tell me that they go to DGG and they watch my site. Why can't we just put movies up here? We can't host them directly, sir. That's not what I was told. In fact, Vosh says that on their website with Whiteleaf, they host movies all the time. We don't have the bandwidth, sir. But you have the bandwidth to host my streams. It's just like...
We have access to data that's protected by law. But we can sit down with them and say...
But
hey,
you're allowed to have a phony election? You're allowed to have a phony election, right?
No, sir.
When are you going to do the signature counts on that? When are you going to do signature verification on Fulton County? Which you said you were going to do, and now all of a sudden you're not doing it. When are you doing that?
We are
Mr.
going to do
President,
that. We've announced...
To get to this issue of the personal information and privacy issue, is it possible that the Secretary of State could deputize the lawyers for the president so that...
Is this Mark Meadows again? Oh, what a gross, rapey, legally rapey fucking... Can you deputize Donald Trump's personal lawyers to what? Give them unlimited... I don't even know what they would get here. What does deputize mean? So then, how would that give them access? So now you're part of the state of Georgian legal system. How would that even give you access to any of this? Or can you deputize somebody as part of like a...
And privacy issue. Is it possible that the Secretary of State could deputize the lawyers for the president so that we could access that information, that private information, without you having any kind of violation?
That's such an unhinged request. What? We want to be part of the team, sir.
Well, I don't want to know who it is. You guys can do it very confidentially. You can sign a confidentiality agreement.
Oh, and Donald Trump's like, oh, hold on. Are you about to criminally implicate me in some wild fucking heist? I don't need to be on call for that shit.
That's okay. I don't need to know names. But we got the information on this stuff that we're talking about. We got all that information from the Secretary of State.
Yes.
What? No, you didn't. You didn't get any information from the Secretary of State. What are you talking about?
On this stuff that we're talking about, we got all that information from the Secretary of State.
You got it from the website. That's what you mean to say, sir. You didn't get anything like confidential or anything private from the Secretary. You got it from the website, okay?
Yeah, so let me recommend, Ryan, if you and Kurt will get together, when we get off of this phone call, if you could get together and work out a plan to address some of what we've got with your attorneys, where we can actually look at the data. For example, Mr. Secretary, I can tell you, you said there was only 2 dead people that would vote. I can promise you there are more than that, and that may be what your investigation shows, but I can promise you there are more than that. But at the same time, I think it's important that we go ahead and move expeditiously to try to do this and resolve it as quickly as we possibly can. And if that's...
Yeah, because they're kind of certifying the vote in like fucking 3 or 4 days. Or no, wait. When did this call take place? January 2nd, 2024. Was it really that soon before the election? Donald Trump call to Raffensperger, Wikipedia, January 2nd, 2021. Did I say 2024? Sorry, 2021. Damn, 4 days before J6th.
a good next step. Hopefully we can finish this phone call and go ahead and agree that the 2 of you will get together immediately.
Well, why don't my lawyer show you where you got the information? It'll show the Secretary of State, and you don't even have to look at any names. We don't want names. We don't care. But we got that information from you.
From your website.
And Stacey Abrams is laughing about, she's going around saying these guys are dumber than a rock. What he's done to this party is unbelievable, I tell you. And I only ran against her once, and that was with a guy named Brian Kemp, and I beat her. And if I didn't run, Brian wouldn't have had even a shot, either in the general or in the primary. He was dead as a doornail. He never thought he had a shot at either one of them. What a schmuck I was. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I would like you to, for the attorneys on my side, I'd like you to perhaps meet with Ryan, ideally tomorrow, because I think we should come to a resolution of this before the election. Otherwise, you're gonna have people just not voting. They don't want to vote. They hate the state. They hate the governor, and they hate the Secretary of State. I will tell you that right now. And the only people that like you are people that will never vote for you. You know that, Brad, right? They like you. They like you. They can't believe what they found. They want more people like you. So look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple.
And then this is where Rob Noor and all the conservatives are like, actually, Destiny, if you listen to the end, he says we just want the truth. So he just asked for the truth. That's all he's saying. I mean, like, what else, what more do you want? Like, he literally says it at the end.
Look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It'll take a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is I won by 400,000 votes, at least. That's the real truth.
Every time he says it, it's just more and more that he won the state by.
But we don't need 400,000 votes. We need less than 2,000 votes. And are you guys able to meet tomorrow, Ryan?
I'll get with Chris, the lawyer who's representing us in the case, and see when he can get together with Kurt.
All right.
Ryan will be in touch with the other attorney on this call, Mr. Meadows. Thank you, President Trump, for your time.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Hey, NBC News viewer.
Can somebody link me, like, I just want to watch one video. Is there any conservative quote? What did the conservatives say about this phone call? Is there like a... Is there like a Nick Ricada or some give me some conservative lawyer guy. Who are the big YouTube lawyer people? Do Shapiro. Oh, Shapiro, reaction. Wait, they must have made content on this or something, right? Oh, maybe I shouldn't be using this. Oh, Republicans react to Trump Raffensperger call.
How do you
interpret
what you heard and what you read about what the president and the Georgia Secretary of State were talking about?
Well, what I read about, the president has always been concerned about the integrity of the election.
Traitors.
To have a statewide elected official, regardless of party, tape to tape without disclosing a conversation, private conversation with the President of the United States and then leaking it to the press is disgusting.
This call. You mean is based? Is based? Absolutely based.
This call was not a helpful call.
This is about the very nature of the Constitution. And to my Republican friends out there, listen, if we win the presidency in 4 years and the Democrats try to do the same thing, I don't think they will, but if they do, you have no moral authority to be upset by it if you voted for this. You have no moral authority. I just don't know where we can go from here besides speaking out, saying this should never become normal and ensuring that the peaceful transition of power happens.
So on that call, the president asked Secretary Raffensperger to find votes. Do you think that it's wrong what the president asked him?
Look, my entire focus is on tomorrow, Tuesday, January 5th, because the future of the country is at stake right here in Georgia.
Okay, so what the media are saying, he is saying, is that he is...
Oh my God. Have I watched this before? I already know exactly what he's about to say. Have I watched this before on streams? Does anybody know? I can't tell if I can just predict it, or do I just know? He's going to say, the media is reporting that Donald Trump was asking them to invent 12,000 votes, but that wasn't really what he was asking for. He was just saying that he knows he has at least 12,000 votes to win, and that was all Trump was asking for. I'm sure maybe it was a little aggressive, but I think that Donald Trump was just saying that that's how many he would have needed to win, and he was just saying that he had as many, at least that many, because of voter fraud. He wasn't saying they needed to invent 12,000 votes, which is what the media is saying. That's what this whole video is going to be. I can feel it.
Okay, so what the media are saying, he is saying, is that he is saying to Raffensperger, I want you to manufacture those votes out of thin air. And I don't care whether there was voter fraud or voter irregularity. I want you to go under your bed, and I want you to find votes for Donald Trump, and then I want you to retally. That's not what Trump is saying. Right? What Trump is saying is he believes that there was widespread voter fraud and voter irregularity. Undoubtedly, there was more voter fraud and voter irregularity than the margin of victory for Joe Biden in the state, and therefore he should be declared the winner of the state. He's not ordering Raffensperger to manufacture votes out of thin air. He's not ordering Raffensperger to magically come up with 12,000 votes. That's not what he's doing. It's bad enough what he's doing. Now, the reason it's bad enough what he's doing is because if you actually care about voter fraud and voter irregularity, you shouldn't be tying that to results. What you should say is, I'm concerned about voter fraud. I'm concerned about voter irregularity. There are a bunch of outstanding allegations that have been made that you have not answered. And so I want specific answers on those, not because the margin of victory is the key issue, not because I want you to get to that 12,000 votes and flip the state, but because I care about voter fraud and voter irregularity. So for people who seriously want to rejigger the system, it can't be a self-interested pursuit. It can't be, I care about voter fraud and voter irregularity because it hurt me. It has to be, I care about voter fraud and voter irregularity generally, right? That is the biggest problem with Trump's phone call. The specter of a candidate in an election calling up the election official as president of the United States and telling him that he is upset that the margin is.
But this was, oh, dude, I feel like reading those Supreme Court cases and just like doing basic reading on like the structure of government, I feel like it has blown my mind up in understanding like the structure of like how things relate to each other, right? Like, and Ben Shapiro is a Harvard lawyer, so he should know this, right? This was not a phone call as the president of the United States. If it was, and I hope that they argue this in court when they try to charge these acts, if this was a presidential phone call, it wouldn't have been with his personal lawyers. It would have been with the attorney general. And it would have been with the deputy attorney general. It wouldn't have been with personal counsel, personal legal counsel. It was that way because this was a call as a candidate, 100%. He's not calling as president. Ben knows this.
Calling up the election official as president of the United States and telling him that he is upset that the margin is 11,000 votes and that he doesn't really care about the voter fraud and voter irregularity. All he cares about is the margin. That's ugly stuff. Is that criminal stuff? No. People who are suggesting that this is criminal activity, that's silly. It's not criminal activity. People who are suggesting that Trump is quote unquote threatening Raffensperger. I read the entire transcript. There really is not evidence of threatening behavior by.
Except for 3 different times where Donald Trump alludes to helping a candidate, the candidate winning, and then saying that he's probably going to lose the next election because everybody's going to hate you if you don't find these votes for me. I still love how when it's a Democrat, like Hillary Clinton tweets out good morning, and then Donald Trump the next day complains about back pain. And Ben Shapiro and the rest of the world is talking about how when Hillary Clinton said good morning, that was code word for good morning's the exercise, which is actually an operation where the CIA points laser beams at Trump's back in order to like stretch it out and hurt him and cause him to injure himself so that he can't perform well in debates. But then like with charity for like what is blatant, open, corrupt official act. Like, or I shouldn't say official, I should say unofficial. Like, it's just corruption. It's so obviously corruption. You're like, well, actually, if you read it, he doesn't actually say, I'm extorting you. He doesn't actually say those words, ever.
Quote, threatening Raffensperger. I read the entire transcript. There really is not evidence of threatening behavior by Trump. You can say there's a power imbalance in the conversation. That's certainly true. It's
Yeah, the power imbalance is that Donald Trump is a fucked little private citizen who can't do shit, and he's begging the Secretary of State to change the election for him, and he can't do it.
You can say there's a power imbalance in the conversation. That's certainly true. It's certainly true that when the president calls you up and says he wants you to find a thing, that you feel pressure to find the thing. That does not mean that there's an actual attempt by Trump to actually punish Raffensperger in any way other than the sort of overtly political yelling at Raffensperger, which he's been doing for months since the election itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why wouldn't Trump have gotten the attorney general on the call illegal? Because his attorney generals hated him because they were like, bro, you're fucking unhinged. They're not going to co-sign this shit. They already told him to fuck off. Wait, no, of course not. Remember, weeks before this, Donald Trump was already telling his attorney generals, and then he was telling the other people working in the Department of Justice, he's like, listen, I need you to write a bullshit letter that I can take to Georgia, tell them we're doing an investigation so that they halt their goddamn electoral certification, okay? I need you to write this fucking letter and tell them that we're still and the 2 AGs, right, Donahue and Rosen were like, no, this is unhinged. And he threatened to fire them both.
Okay, so what the media are saying...
Okay. Michael Knowles on the phone call. Don't do this to me. I bet he's going to say the exact same thing. I bet the Daily Wire all got their like marching orders. Jeremy probably wrote out, okay, guys, listen up. This is how we're dealing with this, okay?
In this case, because President Trump had a phone call with Secretary of State of Georgia and said, hey, I want there to be ballot security. Look, there was...
What? Ballot security? Did I miss that part? Were they talking about securing the vote? Did I miss that part of the phone call?
Tens of thousands of ballots that look very fraudulent to me, and we're only down by whatever it is, 11,000 or 12,000. So you look at...
To be clear, he said, I think he said 400,000 by the end of the phone call. It grew through the call. I'm pretty sure by the end he said 400,000 votes.
...to those ballots, otherwise this election could be won through fraud on the part of Joe Biden. And then they leaked the phone call, and then they take one little 2-second clip out of it, and then Bernstein goes on and says, worse than Watergate. The reason I got a little flubbed up in the introduction, I said Woodward accidentally instead of Bernstein, because those were the two journalists, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. And Bernstein, who's the one they trot out more often, is sort of like the Ben Affleck to Bob Woodward's Matt Damon. You know, Bob Woodward is the one who has at least some talent, and Carl Bernstein just kind of went along for the ride.
Wait, I'm sorry, wait, I might just be pop culture retarded. Do people consider Ben Affleck to be a bad actor? He's flat? Okay, not to sound mean. Okay, not to sound mean. But do we consider Matt Damon to be an amazing actor? Yep. I'm not saying Matt Damon is bad. I would never say that Matt Damon is a bad actor. But is Damon an amazing actor? No, but better than Affleck? Okay.
All of the nonsensical allegations of worse than Watergate that we hear from Bernstein every 6 months. Think about some of the scandals on the left. Watergate has been blown up into this massive, the worst possible scandal ever. It wasn't. Actually, in the grand scope of presidential scandal, it wasn't all that big a deal compared to, say, allegations that John Kennedy stuffed the ballot boxes through the Daily Machine in Illinois in 1960 to steal that election.
I thought he was going to say Reagan selling, is it Sandinistas? What was it, through Iran or whatever? I thought he was going to bring like Iran-Contra or some shit. But no, it was, of course, it's JFK. Okay. My bad.
Election, perhaps from Richard Nixon. LBJ famously stealing his Senate seat in 1948 in Texas. That one went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the court simply wouldn't hear the case. They didn't even rule on it. And that is what landed him then in the vice presidency, and then after Kennedy's assassination in the presidency. How about Barack Obama spying on the Trump campaign in 2016? That seems worse than Watergate. How about Hillary Clinton's campaign?
I also like how they say Barack Obama spying on it, because in their mind, the president is obviously like directly communicating with the DOJ and getting feedback from every single thing. None of that has ever been true. Well, I'm sorry. None of it has ever been confirmed. There's no evidence of any of that. It's just like a thing they say, because Trump probably tried to do it. Well, no, Trump did try to do it. And he got so ass blasted. Trump got so fucking ass pained when he wasn't able to do it, because he just wasn't picking the right people. He's not going to make that mistake again, though.
Campaign colluding with a foreign adversary, ironically colluding with Russia to put together the bogus Steele dossier to try to subvert the Trump campaign. What about that? That's certainly worse than Watergate. Give me a break. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear anymore from the left. You'll hear about how Nixon was the most corrupt president. Nixon was nothing compared to Barack Obama. You think Nixon was dishonest? The guy's nothing compared to Joe Biden, who at least would appear to be about to ascend to the presidency. Nothing compared to Hillary Clinton. Give me a break. They do this also with McCarthy. You'll always hear about McCarthyism and this awful McCarthyism during the early 20th century, when this awful senator pretended that there were communists working in the federal government. There were communists working in the federal government. There was a communist who helped found the United Nations. His name was Alger Hiss, and he was a very high-level employee at the State Department. He was at the DOJ before that. He was a convicted communist. I suppose it was after the statute of limitations had run out. There's a whole book about this called Witness by Whittaker Chambers. It's the book that turned Reagan from...
Okay. All right, one final meme and then...
All right, Alexander, let's talk about more fake news from the Washington Post that has now been admitted to have been fake news by the Washington Post. 2 months removed, 2 months after the fact, the Washington Post and the fake news mainstream media have come clean, kind of admitted that they made up a BS story about what Trump had told Francis Watson, the chief investigator with the Georgia Secretary of State's office. So they made up a story that Trump had contacted Francis Watson, and I'm going to get this right because unlike the Washington Post, we're going to report facts and I want to make sure the quotes are correct. On January 9th, the Washington Post reported that Trump told Watson, the chief investigator with the Georgia Secretary of State's office, to, and I quote, he told her to, told him, told him to, quote, find the fraud he claims happened during the 2020 U.S. election, and that if she did, she'd be, quote, a national hero. That is what the Post reported. Now we have a recording of the call, which reveals that Trump did not say that. And I'm going to read you exactly what Trump said. Quote, instead, Trump urged the investigator to scrutinize ballots in Fulton County, Georgia, asserting she would find dishonesty there. That's what the retraction reads, with Trump adding that she had, quote, the most important job in the country right now. So that's what Trump said.
Wait, what is this phone call? Wait, I haven't even heard this phone call. Donald Trump call Francis Watson. Oh my God. A whole new phone call. Oh my God. Okay, this is a recording of Donald Trump calling the Georgia election investigator. This would have been, help me understand. The Georgia election investigator would be working under the governor, right? States are broken down the same way that the federal government is, right? We've got the governor is the executive, the state legislature is Congress, and then your state Supreme Courts or whatever are going to be the judicial. So if you've got an investigator, this is always working downstream from the governor, basically, right? Georgia government structure. Let me just understand. Yeah, okay. So it'll be the same thing. Okay. And then this is the Georgia election investigator. All right. And so Donald Trump is calling the investigator. And the investigator is part of the Secretary of State of Georgia, correct? The Georgia Secretary of State's office is charged with administering elections and investigating allegations of election and voter fraud. Okay. So it would go, it was Kemp, yes. So it would go Kemp, Brian Kemp is the governor, and then underneath him, there is the state secretary office, who's headed by Raffensperger, and then under Raffensperger, I don't know if you'd have a second inferior office or something, but this guy is going to be working. Okay, that's the structure. All right. Wait, hold on. Destiny, the Secretary of State is separate from the governor in Georgia. Wait, did I just misunderstand what I just read? Control F, Secretary. Oh, they're elected separately. Okay. Georgia's main executive official and head of state is the governor, elected to a 4-year term by Georgia voters. The governor isn't allowed to hold office more than 2 consecutive terms. Along with overseeing the state budget and leading an executive branch of more than 100,000 employees, the governor is in charge of enforcing laws, leading our state's National Guard and police forces as commander-in-chief, vetoing, approving, or taking no action on legislation, filling unexpected vacancies in the Senate, House of Representatives, and other public offices, convening special sessions of the Georgia Assembly, and nominating officials to positions in state government. Okay, and then the other elected members of the executive branch include the lieutenant governor, the secretary of state, attorney general, state school superintendent, and the commissioners of agriculture, insurance, and labor. Okay, so these are part of the executive branch, but they don't exist under, or they're not, they might report to the governor, I'm not sure, but the governor doesn't nominate these people, they're elected. And when it says elected in Georgia, you elect them on your ballot. They're not elected by like the They're not elected by like the state assembly or anything, right? Or the state legislature, the Georgia Senate and Georgia House of Representatives, the Georgia General Assembly. Okay, nice, thanks. My face when Georgia's Constitution offline. Okay, so he can fill vacancies in case of death, resignation, or otherwise. Okay, hold on. I just want to... Okay, other executive officers and how they're elected. The Secretary of State, Attorney General, State School Superintendent, Commissioner of Insurance, Commissioner of Agriculture shall be elected in the manner prescribed for the election of members of the General Assembly, and the electors shall be the same. Such executive officers shall be elected at the same time and hold their offices for the same term as the governor. Okay. All right. Is election investigator, is that like a real? No? Okay. All right. We're listening. Destiny, do you actually do research to learn or just strengthen your pre-existing notions? Just that. I'd only do it for confirmation bias, my dude.
Mr. President. I am actually doing very well.
Good. Well, you have a big fan in our great chief, right? Chief of Staff, Mark.
I did. I met him.
Ooh. Is it? So did Mark Meadows? I'm totally extrapolating guessing here. Mark Meadows chat with her, and she didn't give him the answers that Trump wanted, so now Trump is calling?
I did. I met him. It was a pleasure to meet him yesterday.
Nah, he's great. He was very successful. He was a great congressman, and then when you lead by 35 points, it's hard to get people out of there. But I tried for 2 years, and we got him. He's done a fantastic job. I just wanted to thank you for everything. He told me you've been great, and look, this country is counting on it because it's very interesting. So I won Florida in a record number, Ohio in a record, Texas in a record.
It's the same schizophrenic rambling. Holy shit. Is he going to ask her about Ruby Freeman? Is he about to ask her about all the stupid retarded shit that he saw on fucking YouTube?
Alabama by 40 points. And I won everything but Georgia. And I won Georgia. I know that by a lot. And the people know it. And, something happened there. I mean, something bad happened. And I hope you join that job because if you, I hope you're going back 2 years as opposed to just checking, one against the other because that would just be sort of a signature check that didn't mean anything. But if you go back 2 years and if you can get to Fulton, you're going to find things that are going to be unbelievable, the dishonesty.
Like, imagine Trump, okay? Trump's some random fuck retard. There's not, been an official, DOJ investigation that he's been briefed on. There hasn't been some, deep probe or whatever, right? Trump is just, he's calling the person who's, doing the investigations, and the same, he's listen, you need to check here, trust me, you're going to find some wild shit. And she's like, excuse me, aren't you calling me to investigate? Why'd you tell me about some of this wild shit you know about? What the fuck are you talking about?
That we've heard from
Right.
Just good sources, really good sources. But Fulton is the mother lode, as the expression goes, Fulton County.
Right.
And,
well, Mr. President.
I don't want to say,
Right. I appreciate your comments, and I can assure you that our team and the GBI that we're only interested in the truth. And
what is GBI? Is that what she said? Georgia Board of Inspection? I have no idea what GBI. I don't even know if that's what she said.
And the GBI that we're only interested in the truth and finding, finding the information that's based on the facts. And
Oh, GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, maybe? Okay.
we've been working 12, 16-hour days, and we're working through it. And so I can assure you that. And I do
something which wasn't true. Someone clearly was lying. Somebody was spreading a false account of this conversation. And I understand that what happened.
You know what's really crazy? You know what I wonder? Hold on. Now, I think it can be argued that WAPO wrote this poorly. I think you could argue that. However, President Trump urged Georgia's lead elections investigator to, quote, find the fraud, end quote, in a lengthy December phone call, saying the official would be, quote, a national hero, end quote, according to an individual familiar with the call who spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the conversation. It looks like the journalist was probably quoting the individual familiar, which they might have been legitimately quoting, but this reads like a direct quote of what Donald Trump said. And if the writer meant to quote the person reporting the story, she should have clarified that. Although she kind of does when she says, according to an individual familiar with the call. Well, actually, no. No, actually, I think this is written fine. The issue is just that whoever was reporting this, these quotes were not said verbatim. But I guess their claim is that WAPO just made this up. And the journalists are probably, well, they told me these were quotes that I could use, but...
With this particular recording, the fact that it was lost, or was that supposedly it was deleted from Miss Watson, from Frances Watson's device, and was only recovered, as you said, from a trash file after officials, and we don't quite know which officials, but I presume they were Georgia state officials, responded to a Freedom of Information Act request, which revealed the actual quotes and discovered the true recording, and which discovered that the account given was completely untrue. So that suggests to me an actual attempt by someone, I'm not pointing any fingers, by someone, firstly, to spread a false account about what was said over the course of this conversation, but also to delete the evidence which would have contradicted that account. That's actually really rather disturbing. And given that this conversation happened in Georgia, I have to suppose that it was someone in Georgia who did that. Now, bear in mind that there's all kinds of legal proceedings underway involving Georgia, all kinds of allegations being made by Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, against Donald Trump and vice versa, and there's been talk of legal action. And I wonder whether all of this has come out in connection with that legal action and whether we're going to find out more. But this gives you an idea of what happened. This was intentional. It was intentional on the part of someone. Someone made up a story about things that Donald Trump said to Frances Watson, and someone probably...
Do you think they ever play any part of the recording, or they ever characterize... Well, I guess he did characterize the original call, but it was a horrible mischaracterization. But this is just disinformation, sorry.
That same someone tried to delete the evidence which showed that that account was untrue. Now we see a retraction from the Washington Post. Of course, it's come, as you rightly said, weeks, months...
I don't know if I would call that a retraction. I would call it a correction. And it's a pretty minor one at that, given the length of the article and everything, but...
After the event itself, the damage has been done, but it further proves that information from anonymous sources, especially when it relates to Donald Trump, is not to be taken seriously. And I'm afraid if you take the news from the Washington Post and all those media outlets which supposedly confirm the Washington Post's recording, CNN, ABC News, NBC News, USA Today, and all the rest, especially if it relates to anything that Donald Trump did or supposedly said, well, we have in England this expression, if you sup with the devil, you need a very long spoon. If you're taking your news from these outlets, you are in effect supping with the devil, because on Donald Trump, they're not reliable about anything they say. So this time, as a result of someone's diligence, they've been caught out. But think how many other things they've said about Donald Trump which haven't been exposed as untrue, and yet we can be sure that they were untrue.
They do this all the time. A couple of questions for you, which have come to mind. These quotes and these allegations that Trump said this to the Georgia official made their way to the impeachment records. is that a crime, a federal crime, because now they're part of a federal document or federal investigation? In other words, is the lie, I mean, is this a bigger crime now because this lie, this fabrication is now, I mean, it's a federal document.
Hi, what's up?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Or, well, I don't know as much of a question. So how useful do you think it would be when talking to conservatives to really lean in on the Supreme Court immunity ruling, right? Because, like, what I find when a lot of conservatives talk about, like, like any action of a Democratic president, like, oh, you know, going after political rivals, or, you know, the investigation of the Obama administration into Trump, or the Obama administration auditing conservative organizations. It's like, well, you guys all supported this ruling, which in theory, in a retroactive sense, would have made all of those actions perfectly immune and able for the president to be done anyway, right? So
Sure.
Why would you complain about them at this point? I mean, how do you think that's a useful line of argument? Because it just
nobody even
seems like-
understand. Nobody's read the immunity ruling, and nobody understands the immunity ruling. So they would just repeat back that they go, "Well, those weren't official acts. So that doesn't count." That's all they'll say, and then you can't really argue with them anymore because you haven't actually read they don't understand the ruling.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I feel like it just seems like a extremely glaring amount of hypocrisy, obviously, because if a Democratic president did what Trump did, obviously, I feel like they wouldn't say, oh, no, this is perfectly legal. You can't arrest the president for that.
Probably not.
But I don't know. Who knows? Well, anyway, just a quick question. See you later, bud.
I love you. What is this channel? I'm just curious to hear what else they have on this.
11:38 a.m. Hi, David. This is Kath Rogensack. I'm calling you about a matter that I thought we were going to look at together. I sent you a text about a telephone conference at 11:30, but obviously you didn't get it. When you get this message, would you let me know when you might get together for a conference this afternoon, which is Thursday? I'd like to try for around 2 o'clock. Saved message received Monday, October 2nd at 2:05 p.m.
Hi, Dave. I sent you the site for the Krieger case. It is totally on point with saying why.
Wisconsin. I don't know anything about what any of this. Was this some like pack or something that has? I have no idea. All right. We've got this phone call. We've got Trump pushing knowingly false claims. What I should look at other states. What other states? Nah, Georgia's enough. Fuck it. You know, at this point. This should be. Don't need this anymore. Okay. Okay, Trump's pushing knowingly false claims. This is an easy one. I can just rip all this off the J6 committee. That's like 30 minutes of work. And then people who told Trump that he lost. It'd be nice to just have a list of all the people that told him he lost. I think that's good. Then we'll just run over real quick the coup memos from Eastman. I believe there's 2 of them. Then conversation with Pence. Pressuring of the AG. The acting AG and the deputy. That's that whole meme story that we read yesterday. The elector slate plan. And then from there, it's the events on January 6th. And then we're done. Okay. I feel like we can get this done in 3 days. We don't fuck around so much. What do I have here that I haven't organized? Stephanopoulos cuts off J.D. Vance mid-interview after he says president can defy a Supreme Court.
When my doctor gave me Breztri for my COPD, things changed for me. Breztri gave me better breathing, symptom improvement, and reduced flare-ups.
Breztri won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. It is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Don't take Breztri more than prescribed. Breztri may increase your risk of thrush.
Okay, fuck you.
Mr. Donald Trump.
So you're not troubled by the sexual assault and defamation. Let me ask you about January 6th. You've been mentioned as a possible vice president for Donald Trump. Had you been vice president on January 6th, would you have certified the election results?
Oh, this.
Oh, George, this is such a ridiculous question, in part because the law has changed here. We, of course, had
well, I didn't ask you about going forward. I asked you what you would have done. I asked you what you would have done.
George, here's what I think. Here's what I think happened in 2020, and I know you guys are obsessed with talking about this. I have to make a point here. You constantly say to people like me, "Why do you talk about January the 6th? Why do you talk about the election of 2020?" And then you ask about us multiple times during a 6-minute interview. But look, you asked the question, and I'll answer it. Do I think there were problems in 2020? Yes, I do. Do I think it was a problem that big technology companies working with the intelligence services censored the presidential campaign of Donald Trump? Yes. Do I think it's a problem that Pennsylvania changed its balloting rules in the middle of the election season in a way that even some courts in Pennsylvania have said was illegal? Yes, I think these were problems, George, and I think there is a political solution to those problems. So litigating which slate of electors was legitimate, I think, is fundamentally the political solution to the problems that existed in 2020. It's a reasonable debate to have, and I find it weird, George, that people like you obsess with what I call what happened in 2020. You're so incurious about what actually happened in 2020, which is why so many people mistrust our elections in this country. We've got to do better, George.
I'm not the least bit incurious.
Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the vice president to be effing hung. And Mark had responded something to the effect of, "You heard him, Pat. He thinks Mike deserves it. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong." To which Pat said something, "This is effing crazy. We need to be doing something more." Briefly stepped into Mark's office. "Mark, we need to do something."
There's got to be like a full recording of this deposition, right? Never happened. It's from the Gen 6 committee recordings. Yeah, but I'm curious if the full recordings have been released. What is this? Oh. Actually, you know what? This whole thing would go under... because the coup memo from Eastman was part of this. Pressuring Mike Pence was part of this. And you could argue that pressuring the attorney generals was kind of part of this. Or would this be part of calling states to change votes? I don't know. We'll figure that out. Organization's note isn't as important because the video will be more important, right? Do you recommend Factorial? Hell yeah. would Democrats try to rig it with both? That's it's a stupid question. They're just going to say, well, they're just trying to do every single thing possible. It's like, well, what? I mean, aren't you opening yourself up to more risk of getting caught? So stupid. What court case is this? Oh, Giuliani, you fucking retard. Wait, did I just delete the wrong thing? I did. Whoops. I wish that in... There's probably like a theme I can download. I don't like how in Obsidian it's hard to tell the difference between what are they called? Not headlines. Titles? When you put the pounds, what do you call these? Subheadings. Yeah, it sucks. It's hard to tell at a glance like what the different levels are. Technically, this is more than a complaint, but that's okay. This is going to our Trump article. Okay, deleting my Elon Musk conspiracy schizo shit. New theme near. Oof. Would that work with my callouts plugin? That looks based. Jesus. Oh, somebody sent me a really good email. I'm probably going to use this for rhetorical points. This guy's linked me like 15 things. Steven, can you think of a single example over the past 40 plus years where Trump has admitted he has legitimately lost anything? And then he links me a quote, or he links me an article. The Emmys, rigged. Lost 2016 Iowa caucus, fraud. Lost 2016 popular vote, voter fraud. Even before the election, he said there was voter fraud, which he even won the election. The E. Jean Carroll case, fake accusation, even after losing the first trial. I'm waiting for round 3. New York trial, criminal rigged. Golf against Tiger Woods. He says he won. He cheated. Golf against Phil Mickelson, former number 2 golf player, says that he won. Trump golf champion 20 times by 2019. He said he was this year's most improved player after winning consecutive senior championships. Lied about Trump Airline, Trump Steaks, Trump University, Trump Magazine, Trump Wine. He says it was the largest winery in the U.S. False. Bankruptcy, said it was brilliant to get back money on taxes. I honestly want to know what he's like playing Monopoly. Oh man, and then this guy emailed me. If you're going to debate Alex Jones, make sure that you bring this up. I haven't watched this before. The fuck is this? Should I talk about the Tom video? No, I don't have time right now.
And this is a message directly to every single person on the deep state target list. My assessment, Ivan Raiklin's assessment, that if you assassinate any political presidential candidate, whether it's RFK, whether it's Trump, guess what? America will do the following immediately. They will respond in kind, and they know who you are because we've created the list. So if you
and that's a major Rubicon. They should know that
immediately. You're going to see immediate response, and there are only a few buildings in Washington, D.C. that they will probably do that.
Well, I hope that's not the case, but these people are crazy.
And having said that, if they do that, option 2 behind Trump is going to be so much better for us and so much worse.
Well, I was about
for
to
them.
say, if they kill him, that's best case scenario. From a sick level beating him, oh, please kill him, which but it's so good after that.
Oh, it's going to be the best cleansing and the fastest cleansing that we've ever seen in my lifetime. I assess with almost certainty, with the highest level of confidence, that if they assassinate Trump, it is so game over for them, and it's going to be so fast.
It's a little bit kind of psychotic and unhinged, but okay. This only got 14,000 likes.
Last time I was on the show, I got a quick video that goes into a little bit more detail if you want to play that.
Do they have that?
Yeah, they do.
Guys, you have this video?
It's 2 minutes and 31 seconds.
Let's roll. Here it is. This is mainly for video. They're all real estate too.
I'll talk through that for the radio.
Yeah, you got the receipts.
All right, right now, basically what we're looking at here is a list of video with the snapshots of the Twitter accounts of our deep state target list, where we're going to go after every single digital piece of evidence and residue that they left on the
Those
internet.
are like on the card decks.
Yep, to showcase their seditious conspiracy. There's the treason category. There's the sedition category. Again, those that unmasked Flynn, the 39 of them that have Twitter accounts. The 51 that provided coverage for the Biden criminal syndicate laptop, their Twitter accounts.
Let's hear it.
Released for the public to read, see, and hear as we piece together the seditious, conspiratorial actions that you committed over the course of the last 8 years. And it's going to be glorious.
Right.
By the way, people say, oh, what does this do? When I was talking to Trump a lot and just saying, hey, Fiona Hill, hey, General McMasterson, they were flipping out in the news, and like the CIA really following me around harassing me. They were so scared of intel.
Yeah. I mean, all this is publicly available, well, not publicly available information. You don't need to FOIA this. All you need to do is say, hey, Elon Musk, change your rules of service, right, terms of service, to say, in the public interest, in the interest of transparency, why don't we just take a look and see whether or not, remember what they did with, he looked at the logs, right, for you?
Yeah.
And it was clear that, what's that, Oliver Darcy was the one that basically...
It was Democratic Party.
From Twitter, from X. Well, let's take a look at their direct messages, all the people that I have listed here in this video. And we're going to find out for sure, I would say beyond any shadow
your mouth to God's ears. Explain why this is so important.
If Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi join forces with us to go ahead and look at the direct messages of all these actors right now, we're going to be able to showcase beyond any doubt that they conducted a seditious conspiratorial coup starting in 2016 as soon as Mike Pence was foisted on Donald Trump to be his VP pick, and Crossfire Hurricane started illegally by defrauding the FISA court by spying on Carter.
He was the main agent the whole time.
What's that?
Mike Pence was the agent the whole time.
I think so.
So
he's one of the
we'll get back to that, but just looking at the American battle.
And I got that. Remember that deep state target list that I introduced you to last?
Okay. All right, I'm going to bed. Love you guys. It's been fun. Riverino, cappuccino, poppuccino, hoppuccino, moppuccino, cappuccino, cappuccino, appuccino, appuccino, my dude. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Be careful. Don't die. Hold on. I will do a quick 950 before bed. Hold on. Because I'm a god. Close. We're getting there. I mean, I know it's published yet. Yeah, listen here. Is the new connections up? Thank God. Hold on. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's go. Makeup level, tan, stump, log, structure, saw, file, fabric, clamp, canvas, mod, organize, campaign, max, composition. Okay, well, we got a really easy one right off the bat. The makeup of something, the structure of something, the composition of something. Wait, oh no, fuck. Campaign of something? No. Okay, hold on. Okay. Cutting and reducing, okay? We can saw it. We can file it. We can clamp it. We can... No. Wait, construction tools or something, right? We've got a level, a clamp, a saw, and a file, kind of? You file? No. Oh God, it's gonna say one away. Okay, hold on. You can organize, campaign, canvas. Oh my God. How am I getting so fucked? How am I getting so fucked on these? Organize. Structure? Okay, well, fuck me. We're going to guess. We can organize, we can campaign, we can canvas. These are like things that politicians do to win elections. Can we make up? No. Can we level? No. Tan? Stump? Like a stump speech? No. Log? We can go log shit. We can structure something, saw something, file paperwork, file or nails. We can fabric, we can clamp. We can mod. We can max. We can composition. It can't, no. Ooh. Is it a stump speech? I don't even know where I've heard this term before. I have no clue. Okay. Just kidding. I mean, I knew it the whole time. Because I'm a fucking god. Okay, something is happening here with a saw, a clamp, a level, and a file? Or we can do a structure, makeup, composition. It's going to be one off. Oh, a carpentry tool. Okay, a file. I've only like a nail file, but okay. And then the structure, the makeup, the composition, or the fabric. And these are like math things. What was max for? Max. You've got log, mod, 10. Max? Max. I have no fucking idea. I don't remember. Based. What is max abbreviation for? Max for arrays? I don't remember. Fuck me. 1, 2, 3, 3. I don't remember. Okay. The maximum and the opposite of minimum. The maximum value of a set? Oh. Okay. Easy. Crushed it. All right. Rip. Be careful.